Sup guys, I'm Randomize. Welcome back to part 2 of Paper Mario the Thousand-Year Door. I do plan to finish the series here in a two-parter. That way you can kind of see the items I get to get me to the end. First we go back to Chapter 4 to use the key that we got in Chapter 3. So we can unlock the shop, but we can also see what's in the back here. We found another palace key. And a second palace key. And of course, just a mushroom. And this actually looks really fun. And then we go back, and then the shop is open, giving us the puny orb. And also tube mode, which is extremely important to get more places. And the grotto key, which will help us in Chapter 5. So there's a lot of stuff here that we needed, so it's a good thing we unlocked the shop. I go ahead and go back to Chapter 2. Now that we have the orb, we can actually do a little bit more here. And there is a hidden shop here, giving us a whole lot more checks in this area as well. Not really anything of note, but there are some shine sprites and this galley pot, which will be another check later. That is definitely not a key. That is the Chicola Cola. I had to try to remember that password, and I actually did. And let's see what's in the big chest here. 10 coins. Riveting. And another palace key. To reiterate, we need about 8 of the palace keys in like the actual tower area, but we also need 3 or 4 of the other keys just to get to the actual area. I remember to fight that guy that time. Then we can check out Bobbery's area. There's a check in the back. And finally we got Vivian, so we can continue with the story. Oh, and the steeple key, which is really lucky because we needed that to progress in Chapter 4 as well. tornado jump is probably the worst badge in the game. And the Sunstone, and that'll help us with Chapter 1, so we can finally get the Hooktail. A lot of checks in here, but really nothing of note. And with that, it was time to fight Dupless, the first time. He is a very, very easy boss. There's really nothing to take home from this. You jump on him a bunch of times, he falls over. It's fun that they actually have the shadow silhouettes for the other characters, even though it was originally only for Mario and Vivian. Or, no, actually just Mario, sorry. But they gave the other characters silhouettes, which is fun. But if you return back to Rogueport, you go back to normal. But when you go back, Mario has the purple silhouette, and then partner does not. But going back to Rogueport was a really good thing because I didn't have to make a long trek back. I could just teleport back and then go straight to where Dupless is so we can continue the storyline. I thought at this time I would try to face Boolossus. Since I'm already here, I don't really want to have to come back. This was a rough fight. I won't lie. Well, that was like a whole wasted turn right there. But finally, he does go down. And it's also an easy fight the second time around as well. So Yoshi has taken the place of Vivian's dialogue in that scene, which was weird, but anyways, that is our second crystal star of the run. And then, of course, we have the Peach section, again. And the Bowser section. Unfortunately, I have to do these each time. And then we're back to the normal gameplay. Light Shroom is always nice. And then it was time to go to Hooktail's castle to at least kind of check out some of the items. At least on the first floor. I don't really have too many keys. I may only have about one point. Quick change is very nice, and I end up using that much later. And of course, the thing about randomizers is if you go back to like chapter 1, everything is much, much easier. It's just a one-turn massacre. And of course, there was nothing else here, so I went back to look at the map to see where I needed to go next. And it looked like it was just time to go to Chapter 5. The thing I didn't like about this is once you go to Chapter 5, I wasn't sure if you could get back, or if you were to teleport back, I don't even know if you could get back to Chapter 5. So I figured this was probably a one-way trip. And now it was time for the whack-a-bumps. There are 8 checks here. You guys do not have to see the run-backs, but here's the first one. Of course, loading the next zone means you have to do this required cutscene, and then we'll get back to checking the other 7 whack-a-bumps here soon. Nothing really noteworthy in the shop. Whack-a-bump 2. There's the wedding ring for 3. Another star piece for 4. The L emblem for 5, which I immediately put on. Another Quake hammer for 6. 7. And number 8. Ironically, I get a whack-a-bump from something else. Usually that comes from Wacka. But close enough. Oh, a castle key for Hooktail's castle. That'll be very useful later. BP is always good to upgrade here. I guess you could ground pound on those blocks. Oh, and another key for the Palace of Shadow. I was not about to go all the way back down there to get that star piece. Oh, the up arrow. That means we'll be able to upgrade our partners a second time. the gate handle, which actually helps us get through more of Chapter 5, ironically. Here we're in the cutscene for robbery in the tree. You defeat the little fire dudes, and there he is. Just to get hammer throw. Amazing. Oh, where'd you come from? He just kind of appeared. I shouldn't even have to bring him here. He was just in the background cutscene. Another Palace of Shadow key, which is always a good thing, because we need quite a few of them. After failing, I finally get that. I had another Hooktail Castle key, which means we can get further in even more. Finally got that. And even another Hooktail Castle key, which is crazy that almost all four of them were here. Fighting this enemy to get to this chest is actually a check, and it just gives me 10 points. The very long section there that we're going to go ahead and skip, and then straight to the boss. I am not gonna lie, this boss was fairly rough. I do a power lift, with which I only just get one of each. Not really great. Flurry gets absolutely decimated. And of course I end up wasting a life shroom, which is spectacular. Watch how great this art attack is. I have no idea where his hitbox is. I guess it's the entirety of him, I have no idea, but I completely messed this turn up right here. For anyone that doesn't know, little known fact, you can just blow away the swords. Makes this phase really easy. Wasted another life shroom, which is amazing. But I finally get him in the end. So yeah, it was a pretty rough fight overall. Cortez is not something to sneeze at anyway.
Oh yeah.
And that, I believe, is our third crystal star of the run. I was hoping I would be able to skip this fight, but it turns out that I end up not being able to. Also, there are 2 Flavios in the room. Flavio also ends up talking to Flavio, which is really funny. So I traded out Flavio for another Flavio. And this was for another check. And of course, nothing useful. And when I try to teleport away, it just will not let me. So I had to do the final fight. Flavio is also missing here, which is really funny. Actually got a bingo this run, so that was cool. I usually do not hit those because I suck. And it was a little bit of a rough fight, but we did get through it. And then, of course, another Peach section. It was the longer one of pretty well all of them. And then, of course, the Bowser section, where he's doing some, stupid crap. Time to open up the storage place from earlier. Usually this shows 2 fighters here, but they weren't here, of course. And then for all of our troubles, we just get the champ's belt, so this was pointless. So I decided to upgrade some of my partners at this point, and then also give the up arrow, so I can do another upgrade on them later. And with all that, back to Hooktail Castle. Peekaboo was really nice, that way we could see the enemy's health. Just when I thought all the checks were going to be useless, we get the upgrade to our boots. So finally we can do the spring jump, and we're going to do more damage in battle. This will get us to more places. It really sucks though, because we just do not have the last key. Which means we have to go back. And of course, Spring Jump allows us to go to some new areas. And about 4 checks later, we get the last key, which is kind of a smack in the face, but yeah, we'll do that later. That's one of the big issues when it comes to randomizers. They're fun, but there is sometimes a lot of back and forth. Sometimes you have to go back to previous areas that you would normally have to, but sometimes it can be useful, especially like in Chapter 4 when you're warping back and forth. Now, I decided at this point it is time to do a Danger Mario build. I feel like it'll make it a whole lot faster, especially after that Cortez fight. So what Danger Mario is you get your HP down to 5. Now, what this does is there are specific badges. They're very, very cheap. It will, I'll show you here. There are Power Rush badges. And there are also, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and unequip all of those. Power Rush is always good. The Last Stand, and then Close Call. So, what those will do is the Close Call will actually cause enemies to miss when you're in danger. The Last Stand will actually, it's the damage you take will be cut in half, and the Power badges will actually add 2 for each one that you have, and they're stackable. Let me show you the power here. Yeah, so it's actually insane. And if they can't, they're going to have trouble hitting you. And if they do hit you, they're not going to do a lot of damage. So it isn't actually like absolutely insane build, but it also makes the game fairly easy. I just did it for the sake of simplicity, so I can get through the game a little bit faster. And this is how a check can absolutely be anywhere. It's absolutely insane. We found our upgrade to our hammer, which unlocks a fair portion of the game. Now watch us absolutely melt this boss. And with the badges I have on, he only does 1 damage. And then the fight's over. So yes, Danger Mario is a crazy build, and that is our, I believe, 4th Crystal Star. Peach section. Bowser section. And then finally back to it. The NPCs are invisible again, which seems to be a common theme here. And with the upgraded hammer, we can now go to Poshley Heights, I believe it's called. Another power rush is always welcome. I'll immediately put that on. There's also a check here. It's a long cutscene, so I'm not going to have you watch the whole thing. Of course, I most definitely had to. And the check will be on the table to the left. And I just got some of my money back. That's brilliant. And with that, it was time to get to the far outpost. From here, there's really no reason to upgrade anything other than BP and maybe FP. You do not, of course, want to upgrade HP. And here is Far Outpost. I buy the Shine Sprite, there wasn't really much else there. Not really much in the inn either. With that, I decide I'm going to go fight Hooktail just to get it out of the way. We have to have this Crystal Star anyway. But it's a really easy boss, spoiler alert. At this point, I mean, we're already pretty well goated. It does not take long to melt the boss's health bar. And then we have our next Crystal Star. Peach section again. This is actually the first one. Now this is fun. When I went in here like prematurely, he will not talk to you, which I thought was interesting. But anyways. Got the only thing interesting about that. And then, of course, the Bowser section. And then, with that, it was time to go to the moon. The thing I really hate about the moon is how slow it is, especially finding all the checks. Finding the checks here was kind of miserable. And with that, we're in the fortress. Getting level ups left and right through here. Very high level area, and we're still actually fairly low level. A lot of checks here too. And I'm going to be collecting pretty well all of them. Even the return postage, because it's worth a lot of money. Very useless badge, but if you equip the Wario and the Luigi badge, it turns Mario purple, which is what I will be doing. Wanted to make sure the portal was unlocked because I do not want to have to be shot to the moon again. That would be dreadful. With not much left to do in Chapter 8 at the moment, I decide to go to do Chapter 7, since I've got a few checks for Chapter 7. And I believe I can also complete it at this point.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny that the autograph is just right there. It's the conductor's autograph, which is even funnier. I guess he's selling them now. We'll come back and get that later. I feel like I've been getting a lot of whack-a-bumps. I don't know why I waited to get that star piece, but I think I heard somewhere that if you got it out of order, you could mess something up, so maybe that's why I did it that way. Watch how fast this is. Boom. You get 3 checks here, which is nice. With the next elevator key, we can continue with Chapter 8 now, but we're going to go ahead and finish Chapter 7 while we're here. I'll be honest with you, I do not believe there's anything noteworthy in this station, so here's just some highlights of what I collected. And with that, it was time to move on. This would lead us to the Smorg fight, coming up shortly. Of course, Fog likes to roll up, that's always nice. Thankfully, it didn't really matter. I hit all of my attacks, even with the fog. And I believe that's the reason you can't go into that door early. You have to do the whole train section before you can even get to this point. I think. For some reason, I never tried. that, we have our next crystal star. Peach section, again. Bowser section, again. And with that, it was back to Chapter 8. Briefcase, a little late for that. Life shrooms are very useful when you are Danger Mario. It is the one thing that you typically really need. Because some attacks can melt your health bar if you're not careful, especially with the Shadow Queen. Our last crystal star. Bowser thinks he gets one. So I'm looking for items here because it is time to go to Chapter 8. I know I said I was on Chapter 8 before, that was Chapter 7, excuse me. But anyways, we're going into the final chapter. So I'm just kind of doing some leftover checks because I am missing a key to get through the Palace of Shadow. So I upgrade some partners, and then it's time for me to enter Chapter 8. Realized I didn't have any life shrooms, so I went back, bought a couple, and then it was back to the Palace of Shadow. Absolutely melted. And I was really hoping we'd find the last key. We were missing one more, at least for the tower there. And I was hoping it wasn't outside of the palace because I did not want to have to go back through this. Oh, there's Flurry's necklace. And finally, the last key that I need to get to the Shadow Queen. So you're probably thinking, if you do this, would this not skip the Gloomtail fight? And yeah, it actually does. And I'll show you kind of some fun shenanigans that happen with that later. And there's the contact. Don't know what that's doing there. Here are the last 2 checks of the run. So you're about to see what happens if you don't fight Gloomtail. You kind of get 2 scenes at once. And then it's just back to the Shadow Queen. This was a very, very fun randomizer. Towards the end, you know, of course, it's mostly just kind of like a regular game. You're just try to fight the Shadow Queen. You hope that you have all your items by then. But anyways, this was not a difficult fight. And when you have like plenty of life shrooms, it doesn't really matter. When you have games like Mario. And with one last turn, that was pretty much it. So please let me know if you enjoyed this run. I'm going to put some links in the description. I had a lot of fun with this, as I said. Here are some of the checks that I had gotten. When you beat the game, a lot of these items get released, so you can kind of see over there on the left some of the items that got released. And like and subscribe if you want more. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.